One of the very first questions that I ask my coaching clients is, who do you see yourself working with? What types of clients do you want to take? And if you haven't gotten to the point of answering that question for yourself yet, you're kind of still in that, I don't know, I just want to work with anybody who will pay me, type of scenario. It's a good idea to sit and think about who you want to be spending every day that you're at work helping. It's got to be a good fit for you and for them, both personally and professionally. So today's episode, we're going to be focusing on working with seniors. If that is something you're interested in, if that is a population that really speaks to your heart and you want to help those folks downsize and get organized, this is going to be a great episode for you. I am featuring a guest who started her business primarily working with seniors, and she's got a lot of great insight on what that looks like, whether they're done with you clients, done for you clients, what types of projects you're going to be working on with them, and what the best personality fit is to work with a senior client. So if that sounds good to you, I encourage you to stick around and let's get into it. Hey, and welcome to the Speak Organized podcast. I'm your host, Melanie Summers, professional organizer, decluttering expert, and ADHD organizing specialist. I like to speak organized to give you the tools to conquer your clutter, live life with more purpose, and learn all about the business of tidying. And if you're an Apple Podcast user, you can go ahead and give us a rave 5-star review. And if you're watching this video on YouTube, you can give us a thumbs up and tap the notification bell so that you're notified whenever we post new content every single week. Don't forget to follow along on social media. My handle is I Speak Organized. I mostly hang out on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. You can find me in all the usual places. I would love to have you along on that journey as well. And don't forget to join my free Facebook group. It's a great place to commiserate with other like-minded folks on decluttering and organizing journeys, as well as those starting their own professional organizing business. Now, I get folks coming to this channel every single day, binging the content, getting ready for the possibility of starting their new venture as their own boss. And then I get folks who are ready to take that seriously. So for those of you who are serious, you want to hop in the driver's seat and really make a go at that, then I have some special offers for you to check out in the next 90 seconds that are really going to help you out. You have the opportunity to schedule an affordable consultation with me to get all of your questions answered. For real, nothing is off the table. And I would be honored to strategize with you and provide you with tons of resources during our call. I am serious about my mission to help you successfully start your own business and help you overcome any fear or doubt you have in your ability to make home organizing your new career. It was the best thing I ever did, and I would love to help you do it too. My schedule fills up quickly, so be sure to click the link in the description or the pinned comment to book your call before all of my slots are full for the month. And if you're ready to get paying clients in the door faster, you're going to need a streamlined process to onboard your prospects. And I have taken all the guesswork out of doing that. What to ask potential clients during consultations, what to put in your agreements, getting customer reviews, and more with my signature Pro Organizer Forms pack. These are 9 done-for-you forms that are customizable in a free Canva account, and I'll even show you how to set up that account if you've never used Canva before. These forms will save you days, possibly weeks worth of work researching and drafting critical documents to run your business professionally, and they're specifically designed for our industry. All of my YouTube and podcast fam get an exclusive discount, YT Pro 8, and that will get you $8 off at checkout. Lastly, if you are totally intimidated by using social media for your business, I have a great class that you can watch on your own time called the I Speak Organized Social Media Method. It includes 5 20 to 30 minute lessons that will help you come up with endless post ideas for the most popular platforms, including easy Reels and TikTok video ideas, how to boost your following and engagement with people who actually like and share your content, how to post consistently without spending hours on social every day with my signature content planner that you'll receive for free at the end of class, and a breakdown of all my favorite tools and software. I've made it super accessible and affordable for you. And of course, you get a bonus discount for being part of my speaker fam, ISO Social 5 at checkout. Welcome to this episode of the Speak Organized podcast. I'm pleased to be joined by my super beautiful, awesome guest. This is Sandy Rodriguez. She is the owner of Mindful Organizing based in Utah, just outside of Salt Lake City. She's going to be talking to us about working with seniors. And I just want to welcome you to the show, Sandy.
Thank you so much. I am pleased to be here with you guys today.
Woo, yes, me too. And so we're going to dive in. I'm going to put my thinking glasses on here. All right. So now we will get into this a little bit later. I know this is not who you currently work with, but as we kind of get into becoming a business owner, things will kind of change and evolve throughout the process. So let's go back to the beginning of you starting your business real quick and just kind of give us a brief rundown of how you came to this current stage in your business. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing before and what led you into working with seniors and so on and so forth.
Yeah, great. Well, before I was an organizer, I was a paralegal. I was doing that for about 6 years. I became a paralegal and was working with strictly seniors, and they were seniors that it wasn't like I was in front of, because it was like all in the US. So I had to build relationships basically through the phone. And I really loved working with them. I felt like we had like a sense of connection, and I felt like I could get them to do what I needed them to do. And just, being like empathetic and patient with them. I feel like that was just, I loved doing that. I loved serving them that way. And, while I was a paralegal, where I started to notice like I had the organizational skills to run a business, not so much organizing quite yet, was because I was kind of just thrown in this position where I had applied as a receptionist, and I was thrown into this position like, you're going to be a paralegal and here's what you're going to do. There was literally no manual as to like how to do it. And I figured it all out. I put everything together. I created the order, and everything just flowed, I felt like. In the time being, obviously I'm a busy mom. I have 4 kids ranging from like 6 to 19 right now. But at the moment, they were a lot younger. So I had to figure out like, okay, how do I create, like flow, not only in my home at work, but just being a mom in general. And so that's kind of where it all started. And then from there, the pandemic hit, and I just had to make a decision of like, what do I do? I've always had like a thing for organizing, like everywhere that I went, except my home was like driving me nuts during the pandemic because I had to, do some decluttering and all that. And I made the decision to quit because I wanted to be home with my kids. They were going through a hard time, just, not being able to be with friends. And at the time they were preteens stage, and I decided to quit. I went through my own journey of decluttering and organizing because I was just always tired of working and like essentially having a second job at home, cleaning up. One of the biggest things was like my son told me like, that's all you do, Mom. When you're home, you're always just cleaning and decluttering and organizing, and you just never have any time for us. And that really hit me so hard for my son to say that. And I kind of just ruthlessly was like, I want to get rid of stuff because I don't want my kids to think that they are more important than stuff, And I went through and figured out, did tons of research. If anything, I listened to a lot of your videos that helped me like, go through stuff. And I was like, okay, I got this. And finally, I felt how life-changing it was for me, that I was like, oh my gosh, I want to do this for other people too. And so that's kind of where it started. And I started with seniors because that's what I knew. I loved them. And now I am in the process of trying to figure out if it's seniors or if it's busy professionals or just busy moms in general. So yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that very powerful moment of, just hearing it from your kids. Like, we don't ever get to spend any time with you. I feel like that's so relatable for us as the CEO of the family, that's the mom role. And
Yeah.
it's really, really hard not to feel like you have the right harmony, the right balance in your life, and that your kids are actually the ones pointing it out. That's just like, oh, it's so hard. I know so many of us
Yeah.
can relate to that feeling. But I love that you kind of took the bull by the horns and you kind of faced the problem head on and turned it into a thriving business. I know that you are very busy and doing a lot of things. So I want to kind of dive in and figure out what that looks like. But since we're kind of talking about primarily working with seniors, this is something that you know a lot about. And I know I have tons of coaching clients that are interested in that older demographic. They want to work with baby boomers. They want to be doing downsizing projects. And that is sort of their calling. So let's talk about, for the ultra newbies, just trying to figure out what that looks like. What are some of the key projects that most of those senior clients are calling you to do?
I would say like they have rooms full of stuff that they don't use. Like it could be, for example, rooms where like their kids lived in, but they no longer live in, and their kids, got up and left to college or moved on, but they left, like the rooms full of their stuff that they didn't want to take, or rooms where these seniors have collected, say, magazines, newspapers, like tax papers, I think just being afraid of letting go of those things because they might need them someday. So I've been called to like, seniors finally get to the point where they're like, okay, I'm ready to go through this stuff because now I want to make this room like a craft room or, kind of like a hobby room. So those are kind of the spaces that I would get called for to work with seniors. And just other things would be like helping them create like a schedule because some seniors are busy taking care of other family members that they feel like they're overwhelmed with all of the tasks and they can't figure out a way to create that schedule or that routine in their life.
Right. Yeah. A lot of people are living longer now as well. And so we're finding ourselves. I had a gal on the podcast a few months ago who does legacy planning, and she's sort of like in the middle generation between baby boomers and millennials. She's like that Gen X sandwich generation. And so since everybody's living longer, we're dealing with our own effects of aging, but then everybody else is also living longer. So you're having to care for, your aging parents, and you're maybe not necessarily in great shape either. So it's helpful to have somebody else to kind of help you figure that all out and just make it as easy as possible. So I imagine that's extremely helpful.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of the seniors also, it's physical limitations, carrying a box from here to there, not knowing where to start, things like that, I think plays a big part in them not starting the project for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, we can talk a little bit about downsizing as well, because that's something that I know a lot of senior clients will call to ask for help. So I'm sure you've done tons of downsizing projects. So for those people listening and watching that maybe don't know a ton of what that actually is, I think we all have like a sense of it. Kind of give us a rundown, summarize what that process usually looks like for us.
Okay. So basically when someone contacts me, they're a senior, they contact me, they tell me they just are ready or they think that they're ready. I always will have a conversation with them to make sure that they are actually ready because we all know, when downsizing with a senior, it can take some time, especially because they talk a lot. They want to tell you a story about every item that they pick up. So I always ask them, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being like yesterday ready, how ready they are, makes it much easier for me to know where they're at. And then just helping, when it comes down to downsizing, with seniors, it's a little bit different because it's not like you can tell them, okay, I'm going to go through all your stuff and like, categorize it, and then you can come in and then make decisions, because it's not that easy. One, you have to have some level of trust first, so that they can trust you to actually like leave you in the space by yourself. So I think what helped me is just having that leadership of like making sure they feel like they can trust me, but also trust me that the process that we're going to go through is actually works. So what that means is we'll go through items and figure out like, is this serving them like a purpose, like for function reasons, or if it's a sentimental value item, or is it contributing to their overall well-being? And so going through kind of that way, I know like obviously the sentimental value stuff will go through last, because that's where all the stories are going to come from, things like that. So helping them, I feel like helping them align them with their current lifestyle and goal. I always ask them like, what's your goals? What is your lifestyle now? And I always make them aware of like the present moment, instead of, you held on to this because it was your grandma's and you don't want it. Because there's a lot of clients that will tell you, I know I don't want it, but I feel like I need to hold on to it because of that reason.
Right.
This helps them. I think that setting them up for that through that communication helps them declutter more effectively and be more mindful and aware of what they are trying to create. And most of the time it's more intentional living space, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thinking more about what you need to be looking forward to and how you're going to be functioning on a day-to-day basis. And if the clutter essentially is getting in the way of you being able to function in the present moment, then it really isn't serving a good purpose, and it's just holding you back.
Yes.
Guilt and fear and all these things. Yeah, I totally get that. So this obviously is, we're kind of talking about decluttering theory and strategies a little bit here, which is it's a very difficult thing for us as the professionals, because it ends up almost being like a life coaching role that we take.
Yes.
Working with people, working through their roadblocks, dealing with whatever trauma they're triggered by, things like that. So I want to see if we can unpack that a bit more for people who are trying to figure out the best ways to help their clients be ready. Because that was the first thing that you mentioned was, I need to make sure that my clients are ready for this process. So what exactly does that mean? And so in order for us to answer that, I want you to kind of give us 2 or 3 examples of what the client maybe should be focusing on in order to prepare to downsize. Like, what should they do to become ready to then bring somebody like you on to then help them get through the project?
I think that for me, I can think of one client that I really loved working with. She came to me and said, I'm ready, but I'm nervous. I'm scared. I don't know, like, what could happen. And she asked me, what can I do to be like 100% ready? And I sat down with her and I let her know, like, what does she envision? It goes back to like the intentional living space. Like, what does she envision? What does she want? How does she feel now that base versus like, how does she want to feel, in the space? And she was very scattered brain, very overwhelmed, constantly had anxiety. And it was because, the stuff was just so overwhelming. I kind of helped her like pull the stuff out of her, like what she wanted, so that we can create that plan of where she was and where she wanted to go. Not a lot of people do that, because, a lot of people are like, I just want my client to be ready. But I feel with seniors, it's very different. You're not just going to have a senior that's going to come to you one day and say, okay, I'm ready now. You got to help them through that, because essentially, when they're never going to be like ready to how we want them to be ready and make it easier for us. But I think that you guiding them to that by asking them, a series of questions, like where they want to be, what their fears are, how they want their life to be easier. Those kinds of questions, I think, would help them. Not only identify what they need to do, but also get them to the point where they're ready and more willing
Hmm. Yeah, I think that's really well said. And it really points to a great understanding of the type of person that would be a good fit to work with an
Mhm.
organizer that works with seniors. You can't be the type of organizer that wants to be in control of the whole process from start
Yes.
to finish. You have to be willing to work at your client's pace and
Hmm.
and do what they need you to do. And that can be a really tricky thing for those of us who are a bit more controlling of the process. So I'm glad you brought that
Yeah.
up. Just to kind of expand on this a little bit to determine whether or not those of us thinking about working with seniors are actually a good fit for that type of client. So, what are some important things, maybe just one important thing to understand about working with seniors versus other types of clients? So, you can maybe just explain elements of the process that maybe somebody may not have thought of, some emotional things that you might be working through, any unique challenges that might help us understand what that's like.
Yeah. So I think with working with seniors, you and other clients, is there is a lot of patience and trust that's required. Um, it can get, to the point where they're just telling you story and stories and stories after stories. And so you just have to have patience, but also, again, some sort of um, leadership skill where you can say, okay, we can talk about this story, but let's work and talk, you know,
Mhm.
and having that trust of you being able to tell them, like, I want to hear your story, but I also want us to get to where you want to be, is very important. I think one of the skills also that is important is, um, like, a lot of my senior clients told me that they really liked working with me because they can tell when they were feeling overwhelmed, and I can help them work through that. And I think that's a very important skill, because not only can you tell, like, that they're feeling overwhelmed, but also there is, I mean, as an organizer, that you can only make this so many decisions in a day, and I can tell when my client had enough decision making energy for that day. And so, letting them, kind of been able to check in with them and be like, where are you at with feeling, a certain way, is also very important. And it goes back to, like, the trust, and them being able to tell you, okay, I am tired. I'm done.
Do you feel like you have to be a little bit more flexible with your process and with the timing? You can't go in and say, okay, we're working for 4 hours, one way or the other. Do you feel like you have to be a bit more gentle and slow and flexible with the process?
Yes, but I also think it's very beneficial to kind of communicate with the client, like, hey, we're going to be here for 6 hours. And, at the halfway mark, hey, we've been here for 3. The goal today was to get through XYZ. We're here. By the end of, today, we need to be here. And then, like, just kind of, keep reminding them where we're at through the process of the day. Like an hour before, I'm like, okay, we got 1 more hour left. We got to start wrapping things up. So I think, yes, but also it goes back to just being really super clear on, like, where we're at,
Mhm.
kind of reminding them of the time, because they can sit there and talk and tell you all the stories, because, that's what they need.
Right, right. Yeah, that's kind of the way that you need to process the past, essentially.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
When you have a lot of when your space is filled with things more so from the past than present and future, it can be hard to want to let go of
Oh,
those.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think is there anything that we haven't covered so far? I think we all kind of get a general sense of what it's like to work with seniors and who would be the best fit as far as a coach and an organizer for them. Is there anything else that we may not have talked about that might be important for people to know?
Well, yeah, one more thing I would say, like, if you're looking to work with seniors, another great thing that I have found was that creating a comfortable environment where they actually felt heard and respected, rather than being told what to do. Because I've had clients where, they are like, okay, I'm going to hire you to organize, but my daughter's going to be here, or my granddaughter is going to be here. When a third person comes in and doesn't understand why your senior client has all of these attachments, they can be a little bit rough,
Mm.
and they can be like, grandma, you hold on to everything. Oh my gosh, you're a hoarder. And why, you just need to throw everything away. And I can't understand, those kinds of hurtful things. You have to understand that that's why they're coming to you for help. There's plenty of family members that sure they can help, but will they really help them through the emotional part of things? And just, I think, creating that environment of where they are going to be felt like they are being heard and respected with their like individual needs and preferences, definitely will get you to help them that much faster.
Yeah, great advice. Do you think that you've ever found yourself in a position of having to work with the niece or the nephew or the daughter or whoever that doesn't quite understand the process and what that all entails? Do you find that you're actually having to work with them to help their parent or whoever?
Yes, I have. I have felt there's been a couple of times where I've had that situation happen, and it was very uncomfortable because you're there to help your client, but then that person comes in and tells them stuff. So I kind of just talked to the client and like told the client, hey, I know your granddaughter's here to help or whatnot. Do you want to take direction from your granddaughter, or would you like me to lead the conversations, type of thing? Mm-hmm. And they obviously were like, no, you go ahead. So then I would have that conversation, which is a little bit hard, with the family members. Like, hey, they've hired me for a certain amount of time, but always, instead of being like, you're just being rude, right. I'm just telling the granddaughter or the family member, like, hey, we're trying to do this for the best of your relative. I know we can get them to where you want them to be, but we're just going to take a different approach. Mm-hmm. So if you want to help, I can tell you where you can come in and help us, so that we can get the best results for today's session, type of thing.
Yeah. And I bet they honestly appreciate that, because I feel like sometimes people operate out of a state of fear. Mm-hmm. And also love, they want the best for somebody. And we know that ultimately the best outcome is going to be the decluttering and getting rid of a lot of things and having a bit more space. It's also a safety issue if they're tripping over stuff. And so we know that, but it's nice to have a softer approach. And I'm glad that
yes,
have you there to facilitate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And obviously it's always easy for someone else to tell the relative, like, okay, this person's going to help us, rather than, them having that conversation, because it probably wouldn't go as good.
Absolutely. Yeah. Having the third party really sort of softens everybody's maybe negative emotions and expectations. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We all behave, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to kind of wrap it up, I think this has been super helpful. Just to wrap it up, if you had just a couple pieces of advice for anybody who's new, looking to get into the industry, their heart is to work with seniors, just kind of summarize what we've talked about and the first couple of things that those folks should be focusing on when starting to tailor their business towards senior clientele.
I would say, first of all, like, give it a shot. Don't be afraid. There's not a right or wrong way to do it. Seniors are out there waiting for us to help them. They just don't know where to go for help. And so if you're, afraid that you won't find the seniors or anything like that, please don't be afraid. The other thing is just, go to the places where, seniors hang out. That's where you would find them. For me, it was my mom. It owns a cleaning business. So she one day invited me to help her. And, it was in the middle of me trying to decide, do I want to do this? Do I not? And a lot of her clients are seniors. And that's where I started, is just my mom was like, oh, she does this or that. And they are so willing to help you grow your business, because they also need the help. So I think, go where they're at and just be patient, be very patient. Again, empathy and just actively listening to them, I think, is what's going to get you to win the seniors over for help.
Yeah, right on. I think that's perfectly summed up and makes it very easy. I think the best piece of advice is to understand where your senior clients are, where you're going to be able to find them. The cleaning company is a great tip. And there's, there
Yes.
are other things you can do. Go to senior living centers. You can
Oh,
do
yes.
all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely, I mean, when I started, I called all the senior living places, even, I think there's like a senior, I can't remember what it's called. But basically they do like the move out cleaning or the move out. They basically wipe the whole house out, without asking, like, do you want to keep this? Do you want to keep that? So I partnered up with some companies like that
Oh,
and asked them, like, can I bring some flyers to you? And I started very little. It was like offering 3 hours sessions, just to get a feel for and get my foot in the door. So that definitely helped me a lot.
yeah. And you've grown, I know, because you and I work in the same coaching program. You've grown your business you have multiple people on site with you. You've got employees and contractors, and you're absolutely killing it. You're doing awesome.
Thank you so much. Yes, it really grew super fast, faster than I thought it would. And I'm just here to enjoy the ride. I'm super grateful because I don't see it as a job. I see it like, we're out there helping people facilitate their lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Giving them their time back, which is far more valuable than any money you could possibly make in your whole
Oh
life.
yeah, definitely priceless because I know I've been there and I know the feeling.
Yeah, same. As you and I both with our little kids understand the struggle of the mom and business owner life,
Yeah.
all the balancing act that we do. Well, speaking of which, just to kind of wrap it up officially, I want to make sure that we can get in touch with you, follow you on social media, find your website. People may have questions. You never know. They might want to hit you up to figure some things out. So where can we find you?
So I am on Facebook and Instagram. I'm more active on Instagram. You can find me under Mindful Organizing with Sandy. And then my website is also mindfulorganizing.com.
Awesome. I'll make sure that those two things are linked down below in the description of the video and the podcast show notes. Sandy, thank you so much for being my guest today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I hope it helps somebody out there.
Okay, fam, that's going to wrap it up as always. I hope you got tons of value out of this episode and found Sandy's advice helpful. If you have any questions or comments, of course, be sure to comment them down below if you're watching on YouTube. You can shoot me a message. Be sure to join that free Facebook group. It is the absolute best place to get quick answers to your questions and get some advice. So don't forget to join there. Be sure to check out all of the goodies that I have available for you down in the description. That's where you can find all of the links to the forms pack to get on my calendar for that one-on-one coaching call. I have a couple of slots left for next month. So I encourage you that if you are ready, go ahead and book that coaching call. Don't forget to follow along on social media. Be sure to thumbs up this video. Don't forget to tap that notification bell. Leave us that review on Apple Podcasts. We would be so appreciative. And beyond that, I hope you guys have a fabulous day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.